Hello, Sveiki and Hola. Welcome to this episode of the Sprachenzentrum's Minding Your Language series. Today we'll be looking at how we can work on our listening skills. In a previous episode, we found out why listening is difficult. Sayara is talking to her friends. I heard him speak on the phone, but I didn't understand what he was saying. I thought I should have understood, but I didn't. Don't worry, something like this happened to me too. The first time I was in Britain. I was in a pub and ordered a glass of whiskey, but I couldn't understand what the barkeeper was asking me. He said, "With ice?" Later I found out that it was quite simple. He only said, "with ice." It was just really, really fast.
Quick reminder.
Listening can be difficult because there's not just the really clear speech of the classroom with the greenhouse and the garden versions of spoken English, but also the fast version of everyday informal speech, which is called the jungle version. In this jungle version, sounds are changed or even lost. So in natural speech, we come across words and phrases in lots of different sound shapes. If you want to know more about this, have a look at the first video in this mini-series, which is linked below. So now it's clear why listening is difficult, but what can we do about it? I heard that we should read more to improve our listening. Is that true? Well, when we hear something, we try to make sense of it. We identify the sounds we hear and then check the words we know to see whether we can match them to what we heard. Let's look at an example. A student found a podcast about COVID and heard this segment.
This is related to a bat-borne virus identified earlier.
Then they matched the sound to the words they knew, bad and born. As a result, they came up with a sentence about a bad-borne virus. But that doesn't make sense. Now, someone who has read a lot will have encountered these words in connection with the novel coronavirus. Bat and born as in bear or carry. It is a virus that is carried by bats, and that makes perfect sense. When we read, we encounter a lot of words, and that allows us to recognize those words when we hear them. So in the long run, reading does indeed help us improve our listening. Alright, so reading is important. I've heard that we also need to learn something about pronunciation in order to become better at listening. That's exactly what I've read too. We normally pay attention to the words that are stressed. However, even though unstressed words don't carry much meaning, they're still important. And if we want to learn the language, if we want to be able to understand more than the most essential bits of information, we need to learn those sound shapes as well. It is not enough to understand exactly, and two, we want it all. You find help for this in your textbook. Here are two examples from Pearson's Speak Out books. You learn about weak forms and about how words are linked. In these exercises, you see how natural pronunciation differs from the expected greenhouse version. The textbook shows how sounds change depending on stress or speed, for example. You can imitate phrases or sentences in jungle English, and that will make it easier to recognize such phrases later when you hear them again. And by the way, that will also make you sound more natural. Of course, you find examples of authentic pronunciation everywhere. There's one interesting tool that allows you to find them by searching the internet. It's called Youglish. You type in the phrase you're looking for. Then you repeat a clip or move forward to the next one.
What are we doing out here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are we doing out here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So this tool shows you lots of different sound shapes of one and the same phrase. You can become familiar with those variations, get used to hearing them, and be able to recognize them in your next conversation or video. And this is what can help you improve your listening. My teacher told me to simply practice listening, But watching videos and listening to podcasts doesn't get easier, even though I try to listen more. Well, we need to train listening as a skill. We can only improve our listening if we're able to check what it is that we heard. And for that, we need to use tools. The tool that most learners already have is their textbook. You can listen to the audios in your book, then check the transcript and listen again while looking at the transcript at the same time, so you'll see what you hear. After that, listen again, once more without the transcript. In that last step, you know exactly what to expect, and that helps you hear it more clearly. Let's look at an example. We listen to a conversation and hear this sentence. We're glad to hear about your interest in our products. And we hear interesting. We assume that this is the word interesting because this is a word we already know. We open the transcript and read along. We see that this is actually the phrase interest in. We listen again and pay attention to how interest in sounds in natural speech, so that we are able to recognize it more easily when we hear it again. Of course, this can be done with any source that includes a transcript, not just textbooks. There are websites especially designed for learners where stories are read out, so that we can listen to the spoken version while reading the text at the same time. There are many more sources available, such as online speeches or presentations, podcasts, and of course films with subtitles. When you watch authentic videos and you find them too fast, you may even be able to slow them down. Some videos allow you to adjust the setting and play the video at a lower speed. There's one word of caution though. Subtitles that are created automatically are not yet able to catch spoken language correctly all the time. Let's have a look at one short example.
30 years of playing in piano bars and pubs.
Maybe you heard it yourself. What he really sang was in piano bars and pubs, but the automated subtitles didn't catch that. Buzz and pops doesn't make any sense. Let's recap. In order to improve listening, we should read a lot to encounter more words. We should find more opportunities to practice and start with what we have, our textbooks. We should listen as often as possible so that we get used to all those different sound shapes. We should listen to all sorts of sources without, then with, and again without transcripts. That is how we practice matching sounds to words. We should pay attention to how phrases are said, and maybe even learn to say them ourselves, so that we can recognize them more easily. Have fun finding lots of interesting sources, and do come back for other videos in this series. Isogero. Até logo. Goodbye. See you next time.